If there's rats running around, it's like, man, there's a problem here. We should probably do something about it. If there's birds, oftentimes what happens is people look at it and they say, well, a bird is a bird. Did you know that birds are responsible for more airborne fungal outbreaks in hospitals than rodents? If they're not an existing customer, you do actually have to get them to trust you. Hey, man, we can take care of the problem. You've got to know how to talk to them. That's so important to get them interested in understanding, what the problem is, that you're qualified to take care of the problem. Hey, welcome back to the Bird Control Secrets podcast, where we're hopefully uncovering some stuff for you, helping you grow your bird business, whether it's adding new business for if you're existing and you're doing bird business, or whether or not you're going after and trying to get this and add this for the first time ever. This podcast is for you, and hopefully we're giving you some cool scientific tips and everything else or whatever, just to help you grow your business. That's really what we want to do here on the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think is very overlooked across the board, and it is how to talk to your customers about adding bird accounts. Now, this could be existing customers for your pest control business, or these could be brand new prospects, but you've got to know how to talk to them. That's so important to get them interested in understanding, what the problem is, that you're qualified to take care of the problem, right? Get them to that proposal stage and walk them through and help them to close, right? So it's really important to understand how to use the right words, how to actually communicate to your customer. Remembering that bird control oftentimes can be a double sell. Now, if you're dealing with existing customers and it's warm clients, it might not be as much of a double sell. But if you're dealing with brand new customers, then it 100% is a double sell. And here's what that double sell looks like. If you're dealing with existing customers, they already know and they trust you. So you don't have to sell them that you're the guy to take care of the problem. But if they're not an existing customer, you do actually have to get them to trust you. Hey, man, we can take care of the problem. But before that, you've actually got to get them to see that there's a problem in the first place, right? And so that's why bird control can oftentimes be a double sell. I like to let people, or I think about it like this on the pest control side. Think about how much selling it takes to sell a roach job, or how much selling it takes to sell a rat job. Honestly, really didn't take that much selling. Now, I'm not trying to insult you guys, you AEs, some of you SDRs and guys like that who are actually new business development guys that are going after business. You're like, no, it absolutely takes sales skill. It does to close those jobs, particularly if you're going to close them at more of a corporate level or something like that, right? Like if you're working corporate accounts. But what I'm saying is that from a general public standpoint, if there are roaches there, particularly in like developed countries, immediately you're going, hold on, there's roaches. We should probably do something about this. Roaches should not be a problem for us, right? If there's rats running around, it's like, man, there's a problem here. We should probably do something about it. If there's birds, oftentimes what happens is people look at it and they say, well, a bird is a bird. So there must be no difference between a house sparrow and a toucan or something like that, or a parrot or some pet bird or whatever it is, aside from, parrots can actually talk to you and they mimic, I know that or whatever. And these sparrows just can't do that, but they look kind of cute and they come to my backyard and they feed and they blah, blah, blah. They never hurt me that I know of, like blah, blah, blah. But it's funny because it's like, well, when's the last time like you had a roach crawl on you? Well, very few people have had that experience, like in developed countries. When's the last time you had a rat bite you? Well, feel free to post in the comments or something like that. I'd be interested in your story if you've had a rat bite you. But you're in the small percentile if you've had a rat bite you. So hold on, what is it then that makes birds a little bit different from a selling standpoint than the other things? Well, look at them, man. Birds, you look cute and cuddly. And you look at rats and they look like they want to bite you. They look like it would be gross if they were crawling all over you. Or roaches, man. The thought of a roach crawling on you might make you itch or whatever right now. You might be like, oh, that's disgusting. That sounds, if you don't feel that way, go watch a video and see how you feel afterwards. Oh, so I've heard all sorts of great stories. You guys in the industry have great stories. Feel free to share those in the comments too. One of my favorite interesting ones was this person who they were new to pest control. They started working for a distributor. They came from a different industry, and a pest control operator came in to buy some product, and they're standing there at the desk, and they slap down. They slap the desk just like that. And when they do, roaches actually fall out of their, like the inside of their sleeve and onto the desk and go running across the counter. And this person freaked out, again, coming from outside the industry. You guys have been doing it for a long time, having something crawl on you, that doesn't bother you. You're used to that. But for most people, they haven't had that happen. They've never had that experience, right? And so now you take that same person and you're like, hey, put your hand out and let a bird land on your finger. Well, like lots of people are gonna be like, well, yeah, sure, that's fine. That's okay. That's no big deal or whatever. Put your hand out and let this rat crawl in your hand. Oh, no. Not gonna happen, right? So it can be a little bit of a double sell thing that happens there, right? Because people understand that these other pests are dangerous to them. They look dangerous. They look like they spread lots of diseases, right? But the truth is that birds are way more dangerous than snakes, and they kill more people than snakes do every single year. But the general public don't understand that. So we've got to be able to talk to them in a way that helps create some understanding, right? So birds see rats, they see flies, they see things that are disgusting, and they're like, hey, I freak out, and I don't want that. But here's some information that I want to give you. And those of you guys who follow the podcast know we talk about this. So birds carry around 65 different diseases, a little over 65 different diseases. That's twice as many as rats and mice. Honestly, and here's what's interesting about it. They carry it over a really long distance, right? So they're spreading this disease over a really long distance. And so helping the customer actually understand that and being able to give them information on that could be handouts and some things. And these are things that we help provide you guys with. If you don't have some of this, right, we'll help you guys provide it in a way that looks great for your brand and like all that kind of stuff. But it's important to be able to communicate that to the customer because oftentimes they're just living with the problem. Like it's usually been there for a little bit. So like usually when you hear about it, like when they approach you about it, that problem has been there for a long time, right? So the problem isn't just like a perception issue. It's just a lack of understanding, right? There's this sort of like Cupid illusion that you end up having to break. I'm going to give you guys a couple of facts that could be interesting and interesting things to share with the customer. Did you know that birds are responsible for more airborne fungal outbreaks in hospitals than rodents and insects? Isn't that interesting? There are documented cases of bird droppings near HVAC units that are on the outside perimeter of hospital buildings, whether it's on the roof or down there on the ground. Usually on the roof is how this happens, where it gets sucked into that intake. The filtration units and areas inside the hospital are either not all the way up to speed or can't filter everything out, and they're actually pumping those fungal spores out and into the hospital, and it's caused outbreaks before. That's kind of crazy. Here's another one. Pigeon droppings can contain up to 10 million histoplasmosa spores per gram. That's absolutely crazy. Considering the fact that like a single pigeon it produces up to 25 pounds of droppings a year, 10 million histoplasmosa spores per gram. Those histoplasmosa spores cause histoplasmosis. They get in the lungs. They can look like spots on the lungs. In fact, I remember a story talking to a guy who had been exposed to birds and he had actually gotten histoplasmosis. They actually diagnosed him with lung cancer. He went in, they saw spots all over his lungs, so they're trying to figure out and treat it and do all this stuff. And he had to go to like multiple places, and finally they figured out it was histoplasmosis. There were spots all over his lungs, right? Here's another interesting fact. Bird infestations are actually legally categorized as a public health hazard by OSHA, particularly in food-related facilities, right? So if you're dealing with F&B facilities or something like that, this is a health hazard, and FSMA, the Food Safety Modernization Act, actually puts some teeth to inspections where they actually see birds. There's going to be a ding that happens there. They might shut your plant down, all sorts of stuff. And so helping the customer understand some of these things is really, really important. Okay. Let me give you guys a story of a real consequence that actually happened. A lot of you guys remember a big peanut butter recall. This was years ago, maybe 12 years ago, somewhere in there. Nationwide was millions and millions of dollars lost, millions of individual pieces of inventory that got pulled back or called back. And they did all the research and everything on this, investigation, like all that kind of stuff, trying to find out. And they actually were able to pinpoint it to a plant in Georgia that had a major pigeon infestation up on top of the roof. And the roof leaked. So every time it would rain, the droppings would fall down. They'd get into those peanuts that would be processed, converted to peanut butter, and voila, you've got the perfect set of ingredients for a big outbreak. And man, that outbreak, I think it ended up killing like 7 people or something like that, sent hundreds of people to the hospital all over the country. The plant got shut down. Company had to file for bankruptcy. It was like hundreds of employees that got laid off. And the plant manager ended up getting indicted and sentenced to something like 10 years in prison. So it's interesting. A lot of times companies aren't thinking about the liability associated with not taking care of the problem, particularly if it's documented that they knew that there was a problem. Employees are coming to them saying, hey, there's a problem here. It's causing a problem. Customers are complaining they're getting droppings, on their clothing or on their heads or hats, whatever it is, right? And they know there's a problem. They're not doing anything about it. Well, so a lot of times, and this is just human behavior, right? Like we usually will respond when the fire gets really, really hot. A lot of times, like we might not even respond to smoke, but when there's a fire, oh my gosh, we gotta go take care of this. Bird issues can become a fire by just sort of slowly sneaking up on people in a way that maybe rats and mice don't. Because they know immediately. You see a rat, you see a mouse. If a customer sees that, that they're gonna, immediately call. There's going to be inspections. My ratings are going to drop, like all sorts of stuff or whatever, right? Like I'm going to get bad Google reviews, etc. But with birds, it's like that can sneak up on you a little bit until it's not sneaking up anymore, and then all of a sudden there's a big liability issue. So one of the things that you can do is help a customer understand and see some of the dangers of pest birds, help them understand the potential liability issues, not in a way that scares them, but just in a way that helps to educate and inform them and create a little bit of urgency to actually take care of the problem. And that's really what you're trying to do, okay? Let me give you guys a few more facts that are interesting. Over 1,000 businesses in the U.S. every year report bird-related contamination events to local health departments. Over 1,000 businesses every year. And that's just the ones that report. There's a whole lot more that don't. So that also means that people are reporting these businesses too, right? And these businesses don't want to get reported to health departments, right? Because that can cause fines. If it's bad enough, they can shut down the business till the problem is taken care of. They at minimum need to show that there's a plan in place, right? And this is all sorts of businesses, not just F&B facilities. This could be restaurants and all sorts of things, right? Here's another fact for you. Bird droppings can transmit Salmonella, E. coli, and even West Nile virus through HVAC systems, right? So if they've got I kind of mentioned HVAC earlier. If they've got a problem in your HVAC units, that's a big red flag and something that you want to communicate to them. Here's another one. The USDA classifies birds as one of the top 5 vectors at food facility shutdowns nationwide. Wow, that's crazy. Top 5 vectors for shutdowns of these food plants nationwide are birds. A lot of times if you're dealing with an F&B facility, they may not quite understand that. And this is actually something that you can use, a fact that you can use if you're not just dealing with F&B facilities, but restaurants too, right? Communicating that to them as well. Did you know that in food processing facilities and food handling facilities that the number one reason why they get in the top 5 reasons why they get shut down is because there's birds? Well, you're handling food here at this particular place. That's something to consider. There could be some serious health violations that actually occur because, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the sparrows back there by the dumpster, could actually cause that, right? Now, so talking about some of those, I want to help you guys with a handful of maybe misconceptions, maybe that you might have if you're in pest control and maybe you're not growing bird the way that you want to, or maybe you're in pest control and you have an added bird. We have yet to talk to a pest control company that's never heard of bird control. So most of you guys out there, if you're in pest control, you've heard of bird control. But if you haven't added it yet, I'm going to do that little thing again. So most of the time you've heard of bird control, but if you haven't added it yet, it's usually because there's some type of a perception or decision or something that you've made. And I want to help you with a couple of those things. So some of you guys are avoiding birds because you think that it's really complicated. Some of you guys are avoiding birds or not growing bird because you don't want to jump in unprepared, right? You don't want to throw something against the wall, try and see if it sticks. Here are a couple things I want to help you guys understand. Every single job with bird control is repeatable. I'll say 85 to 90% of the jobs are repeatable if you have a good process, if you have a good system. One of the number one things that we find that people make mistakes on when they think about like baiting for birds, for instance, is they think of it as like a product and they don't think of it as a system. When you use a system, you get repeatable results, right? So this is one of the reasons why we do things like, hey, you want to break out the number of trays that you need to 10 birds per tray. So if I've got 100 birds, I need 10 trays, 50 birds, 5 trays, 200 birds, 20 trays. Why? I can produce repeatable results and repeatable outcomes by using and scaling trays in that way. It's a reason why I want to use products like Easy Blend, because I know what my blend is going to be every single time I buy this bucket. I open the active, I pour it in, I mix it up, I get the same 1:40 dilution ratio every single time. It's a reason why when we provide op sheets, it's like, okay, this is how much goes in each tray and when this goes down. There's a reason why we've got those overnight rotations. Hey, that goes down at, sunset. The number of trips per job, all of those things are repeatable. So the same thing that you guys are already doing for your rodent accounts, you can actually do the same thing in bird. Now, why does that matter in communicating to the customer? You're able to communicate to the customer, hey, we have a system for doing this. This is not just like willy-nilly. We're not just throwing something. You're not an experiment. We're not going to experiment on you. We know what we're doing. And by the way, if you're certified, if you've gone through our certification program, then you actually have our backing too. And that's another great way to talk to the customer and say, hey, like we're actually certified in doing this. We've gone the extra mile. We've taken the extra step. We've actually worked directly with the manufacturer and we're directly in contact with them. We have a repeatable system for doing it. Let me actually show you this system, right? And so let me give you guys some facts that are interesting with regard to that. Most pest control companies leave bird revenue on the table this is crazy, equal to 20 to 30% of their total commercial potential. So think of how much you're bringing in commercially. You could easily with what's in reach for you, you could easily equal 20 to 30% of your total commercial revenue. So if you're a big company, that's a massive number. If you're a medium-sized company, that's a pretty good sized number. Regardless of where you are, 20 to 30% of your commercial revenue is a big number, right? You are leaving at least that much on the table in your existing market space that you're in if you're not aggressively going after bird accounts in the same way that you're going after other accounts. That's a big deal. Bird infestations are one of the top insurance claim denial reasons when no documentation or program is in place. Wow, that's crazy. Roof collapse. I go to file for insurance. They go out, they inspect those shingles or whatever it is, inspect that rooftop, and they see a layer of bird droppings in there. It's one of the top reasons why the claim actually will get ignored. Isn't that crazy? These are things that you can talk to a customer about, right? And help them truly understand, facilities managers, et cetera, et cetera. These are things that you can actually facts that you can put inside of proposals, right? That actually will help there too. These are things that you can actually have on your social media accounts. If you've got accounts on LinkedIn or other things that customers are following, right? These facts that they just didn't understand about birds to help better educate them and be in front of them to help them make a better decision. Here's another fact for you. Only 6% of licensed pest control operators offer any kind of structured bird control program. So here's what that means. This is a blue ocean opportunity. And here's the thing. across all companies, it's maybe like 10% that offer bird services in general. So that means that of the 10%, 4% of those guys are just kind of taking like jobs as they come up and like willy-nilly and throwing stuff against the wall. It's only 6% that actually have any kind of a structure to it. And then the ones usually that we find that have a structure to it are having some type of issue with scaling their bird program. That could be leads, that could be closing those leads, that could be executing on those jobs, or a combination of those things. And these are all things that we help teams with, right? So understand that this is a huge opportunity. And so it's so worthwhile for you to understand how to talk to a customer, how to get that customer interested, how to create some urgency to take care of the problem, right? Because you'll be able to grow your business, honestly, by 20 or 30% pretty easily, and then go after other stuff from there, okay? Here's some hidden costs that your customers oftentimes don't see. Okay, because many of these losses are invisible. They're things like corroded HVAC units. So they're blaming other things, weather, wear and tear, all sorts of stuff or whatever, when really bird droppings are actually corroding these HVAC units and cutting down the life of the HVAC units. Okay, cleaning crews that are paid weekly. It's really, really interesting looking at the cost of doing these. And some of you guys, and you guys can comment if you agree with this or if you've seen it too. I'm interested in you guys' stories. Our team is. But one of the things I think about are, when we're talking to a company and they have somebody coming out and they're power washing regularly, right? And they're spending anywhere from, $5,000 to $20,000 a year just power washing these droppings. Well, oftentimes that's less than taking care of the bird problem in the first place, right? And so you can help save the money over the long term, but a lot of times these cleaning crews are paid weekly, and they just put it on as an expense, and they're just paying this expense. Lost foot traffic from unclean entrances. People are less likely to shop at locations and revisit locations if they're seeing bird droppings and bird issues all over the place, because it just looks unclean. And so a lot of times it's difficult to track and pay attention to business that we lose that because we never actually got that business back, or the lifetime value of the business didn't show back up. And in fact, sometimes people are tracking most of the time businesses, especially a business that's well run, they're tracking that that lifetime value, but they're attributing that lost business to some other factor that may not actually be. They may not tell the full story, or they might say, hey, it's not clean, and so they invest in all these cleaning tools and like all this other stuff or whatever, and facilities are doing all this work, but they completely neglect bird. Or maybe even they talk to the pest control company about, hey, we've got bird nests in the signs or whatever it is, right? And maybe that company, is like, hey, like we don't actually do anything about birds. And so they're like, well, I guess there's nothing we can do about it. Let's focus on cleaning here, right? But they're losing customers because it's unclean. The worst cost is the customer who never comes back and no one knows why. Let me give you guys some facts here. Acidic bird droppings can corrode aluminum and concrete within weeks. Here's what's crazy. That's even faster than acid rain. So it's like birds are just dropping acid rain bombs all over the facility as they're flying by, and droppings are getting everywhere. One study found a 26% decrease in retail foot traffic in locations with visible pest presence. How much more could could your customers' reach grow and the lifetime value of that reach grow if they had 26% more foot traffic by taking care of a bird problem? These are very real numbers, and you can help them calculate that or whatever, right? This is what's great about tools in AI. You can actually help them figure that out. It's like, hey, I've got a retail center that is in this type of area that blah blah blah. Estimate the amount of revenue and estimate foot traffic that they have. They have a bird problem here and here and here. And if they had a 26% increase, what could that mean for their revenue? It's like, hey, you realize you could actually probably increase revenue by maybe up to $70,000 this year by taking care of this bird problem. Well, now it's like, hold on, this bird proposal was $6,000, and you're gonna help me get $70,000 potentially because of that. It's like, no brainer. All of a sudden, pretty easy to tie that when you tie taking care of a problem or solving a problem to revenue. Here's another fact: power washing alone can cost at least $10,000 annually per location, and it still doesn't fix the root problem. So if they've been power washing for 5 years, they've spent 50 grand on it. 3 years, 30 grand on it. 10 years, 100 grand on it, when they could take care of the root problem for much, much less and get revenue from the foot traffic that they're losing. Okay. So here's how you can start the conversation with these guys pretty gently. First of all, if you're a tech, look up. If you're managing techs, train your techs to look up. Look for droppings, look for nests, look for ledges, look for signs of bird activity, right? All over the place. Feathers, nesting material, that kind of thing, right? And then you can bring it up really casually during a routine service. It's like, man, you're out there, you're checking those rodent stations, you're checking traps, you're doing whatever, right? Doing perimeter retreats. Look around, man, I see bird droppings. Look up, look around, and it's like, hey, facility manager, hey, whoever my property manager, whoever my contact is, while I was out there doing work today, one of the things that I noticed is I actually saw some droppings, or I noticed that there was a nest. Have you seen that before? And most of the time they have seen it. Oh yeah, like I did actually notice that, right? And then from there, that's a great conversation opener for you to be able to kind of gently inform them about maybe some of the dangers of pest birds, and that you guys actually handle birds and that kind of thing, right? Let the customer tell you how long it's been happening. Let them tell you any problems. Has that caused any kind of a problem at all? But we'll take a look at it and we'll be like, oh man, we've got these baby birds that are falling out of the nest and they're getting rolled over by cars, and it makes our customer sad, or just stuff like that, right? So let them kind of tell you the problem, and then you bring the solution you can offer to help. Let me give you some facts that help here as we're looking at this. Bird nests and signage or lights increase fire hazard risk by 700%. Man, yeah, I noticed that there was a nest in the sign too, and it feels like it wasn't really there like last season, and then it was there. It's like, oh yeah, these problems get worse over time, right? Oh yeah. And did you know that the nests are a fire hazard because it's kindling? So those signs get pretty hot, and all of a sudden, if that bird, if it's got a nest in there, it increases the chance that that's going to catch on fire by 700%. It's like, whoa, I had no idea. Yeah. You want me to go ahead and put a plan together for you on that? Because I could talk about it maybe next time I'm out here. Most of the time they're going to say yes. Here's another fact. 1 in 3 commercial rooftops have visible bird contamination, and most managers don't even know it because they're not up there on the roof. So you're up there, take pictures of the roof when you see it, right? You're doing your routine service or whatever it is. Ask if you could go up on the roof and take a look. Hey, we've been actually doing this for free for customers, going up and seeing if they have any issue with birds, because we've been seeing some big liability issues happen. Even insurance claims get rejected because there's bird issues on the roof. You mind if I go up and take a look while I'm here? Oh yeah, sure. Go up and have at it. You see signs of bird stuff, take a picture, come back to the manager. Hey, this is what we noticed, right? Here's another fact. Bird droppings under beams often indicate weeks or months of buildup. And it's usually far more than anyone recognizes at glance. And remember, their droppings are highly acidic. They'll eat through those beams, and you're really talking about potential damage to the structural integrity, right? And so that's really what's at stake here, and a good way to bring that kind of stuff up to the customer, okay? Let's talk about cold leads here for a minute, okay? If you're walking into a location, just ask who handles the service, and show them that you actually saw an issue on the outside, right? If it's calls, you can name drop your clients and ask whether or not they've noticed birds just like these clients, and you're helping clients out that are just like them, right? Warming up is the best for cold, right? A walk-in's a little easier because you can see a bird problem. But if it's a cold call, highly recommend warming them up through your email list, social media, all that, paid ads, that kind of stuff, branded one-pagers, etc. But warm them up just a little bit. The last thing you want to do is cold call and kind of fish for whether or not they have a bird problem. It's much better to actually warm them up. And this is something that we can help you guys with. Again, if you get the certification program, we actually talk about this. We also have a program called 60 and 60 and that helps you add $60,000 in 60 days of bird revenue, is what's designed to do with like a scalable program, a scalable system. And we help give you like SOPs, we help give you templated emails, stuff like that, basically, so you can help warm up these cold audiences before you go through and you make cold calls. Let me give you guys some facts. Bird infestations are one of the most commonly ignored OSHA violations in warehouse and food storage sites. And it's one of the easiest ones to get dinged on. That's really interesting. It gets ignored, and because it gets ignored, people actually get dinged on their inspections for it. There was a story, this is interesting. One warehouse had over $80,000 in rejected shipments due to bird droppings inside of pallets, right? So if you're dealing with a company, LTL company, right, and they've got these pallets out there and there's a bird problem that's there, they may actually be having shipments that are being rejected because of those bird problems. Bird activity captured on a customer's Google review photo. This is one story that came in. This is interesting. Caused a 1-star rating drop for this company in 48 hours. They went from high stars to 1-star average rating, just because. So some of this stuff can actually go viral, just depending on how the bird issue is. Okay. So last thing I want to leave you guys with is you don't have to have all the answers. A lot of times guys don't get into bird, they don't bring it up, they're scared to bring it up because they're like, well, what if I say the wrong thing? Don't worry about it at all. Here's all you've got to bring to the table. You approach them about the problem, see if they've noticed the problem, let them talk about it or whatever, right? And then ask them if they're interested in a plan. Now, if they start to ask you, well, what kind of plan would that be? What would you blah, blah, blah? You don't even have to have the answer to that. That's actually what we're here for. We're here to support you. We're here to give you all the information that you need. We're here to load your lips and make sure that you're successful. And so if you're concerned about saying the wrong things, no big deal. It's like, just approach them. Just have the conversation. Right? And if they start asking questions that are above your head, no big deal. It's like, hey, actually, I'm going to answer that in the plan. And you know what? I'm not sure what the answer is to that question, but I'm going to make sure I go and I get that for you. I'm working with a manufacturer on this. And so we can actually provide you with all the information that you need, right? Just assure the customer, even if you don't know the answer, that you know where to get the answer, right? And customers love that, right? They love the honesty that's there. So don't be afraid of the conversation. Don't back down from the conversation. Go in confidently. Hey, we know how to solve this problem, right? Gently address that problem, bring that problem up to the customer, right? And have that conversation. And you will be totally surprised at how many of these jobs you'll see close just from literally approaching your existing customer base about the problem. And then when you're seeing a problem, stop, have the conversation. You'll be glad you did, because that is the number one trick for growing your bird business, not just in 2025, but forever. It'll keep paying dividends. That's all I got for you today for Bird Control Secrets. Watch the other episodes. Make sure you subscribe to our other channels. Make sure you check us out on LinkedIn. Man, a lot of buzz there. A lot of your customers are on LinkedIn as well too. So if you're not active on that platform, get over there and do that. Subscribe to the channel if this is your first time being on. And we'll be back soon with more tips for you that help you crush it in bird control.